Located 2.5 hours away from London in Staffordshire, England, you'll find the theme park and resort of Drayton Manor. Despite the titular manor no longer existing, Drayton Manor boasts over 50 rides and attractions and has existed for 75 years. I visited the park in March of this year before it officially opened for the season, and in this video I'm going to give you a hopefully detailed review of the park itself and my experience. I would also like to note that I used a disability access pass on this visit and the park wasn't fully open yet, so that likely affected the number of rides I managed to go on. Drayton Manor uses Nimbus cards which you have to apply for prior to your visit. Once there, you have to go to guest services and get wristbands which you wear all day. For any ride you would like to go on, you enter through the exit and show the staff your wristband, and you should be on the next vehicle where possible, eliminating the wait time. The newest and most notable land at Drayton Manor is arguably Frontier Falls. The area is a refurbishment of an old area that featured futuristic thrill rides such as Apocalypse and Pandemonium, which were both closed by 2022 to make way for the new addition. Frontier Falls opened in 2024 with a new, innovative anchor attraction, Gold Rush. Gold Rush is a one-of-a-kind steel family coaster built by Intamin, which features two unique cycles that utilise the track layout. Both cycles feature a launch and backward sections, skillfully introducing younger guests to more intense elements. If you couldn't tell from my channel name, I love this ride. It is my favourite coaster I've ever ridden, but to be fair, I have only been on 11. I rode Cycle 1 first, and at the time enjoyed it the most. The trains feature lap bars, however I would have preferred to have something to hold onto on the train. But I understand that what's there does make it more thrilling. I just think that with it being a family coaster, and Drayton Manor a family park, maybe something there would be better. I also rode Cycle 2 later on in the day, as on the day of my visit, the ride switched to Cycle 2 after 2 p.m. I think that this is a good system, but that randomised rides would be fun. However, I have heard recently they've been not running Cycle 2 at all, which is strange to me. Why go to the effort of having two cycles if you're only going to use one? My few criticisms aside, I love Gold Rush so much. It's so well themed and is a really interesting story woven in about finding gold throughout the queue and the ride itself. The coaster is so fun and unique, and even if it's not intense enough for you, it's still worth a ride in my opinion. I do believe that this pulls some of the bigger queues in the park, so I would suggest getting there earlier or waiting until later. Because Drayton Manor is a family park, some people leave earlier with their kids, so the queues may drop in the afternoon/evening, depending on how long the park is open. Also, these might not be the people riding Gold Rush, so maybe use this trick on a different ride, but it does work if you're there on a particularly busy day. Also in the area is Sheriff Showdown, a shooter dark ride which opened in 2000 as Golden Nugget's Wild West Shootout. The ride was refurbished for the 2018 season and was renamed Sheriff Showdown. I think that they are always good additions and that they are even better when they have physical sets, like this one. The ride is well themed and has many charming effects, however it does look a little bit dated. I'm not sure how long this ride will last, as it seems much older compared to the other rides in Frontier Falls. I really hope that Drayton Manor doesn't remove this ride and instead updates it, as there is nothing wrong with the ride system or concept. The park as a whole really needs more dark rides, and I think removing this would take that away. This ride is an absolute classic, which I hope gets the love it deserves soon. The Haunting is a madhouse attraction which opened at the park in 1998. The ride has seen many updates in its lifetime, with the most notable being in 2016, when the story was changed to be more family-friendly. The ride sees you first enter the courtyard of a haunted vicarage, an actual old vicarage of Drayton Manor the house. Guests are ushered in small groups to a pre-show room, where you are briefed on the supposed paranormal activity of the area after the death of the vicar. You are tasked with investigating and move on to the second pre-show, very reminiscent of Disney's Haunted Mansion. After passing through a hallway, guests enter a large room and meet the lady of the vicarage through her portrait on the wall. The floor trembles and spirits fly above as she warns you not to enter. Afterwards, you finally enter the actual ride portion, a classic Vekoma madhouse, with the walls spinning as strange things start to happen. I really like this ride too. For Drayton Manor, especially in the 90s, this ride is incredibly well themed and has such a good and spooky story, which definitely scared me as a child. My only slight criticism is that the ride portion is too short compared to the long setup. You expect something long and something very dramatic to happen, and it just doesn't. This could be easily improved by just having a longer cycle, but I understand that it makes the wait shorter. Due to the pre-shows, The Haunting brings new guests in every 15 minutes, which is a fine system. I would like to see, however, a countdown outside the ride, as you have no idea how long you'll be waiting. Maybe people literally just went in, or maybe it's just about to start. I think that would greatly improve the experience. Overall though, this ride is so good, and I hope Drayton Manor continues to have great theme like this, because I think that it would be such a great road for them to go down. Next to Gold Rush, you can find another coaster, Accelerator. I have ridden this previously, but I didn't on my last visit because no one wanted to go with me. But it is an actually pretty fun ride from what I remember. It opened in 2011 as Ben 10 Ultimate Mission and is a prototype of the Steel Vekoma family boomerang. The ride was rethemed to be loosely Cars themed. In 2024, it had a small update to fit with Frontier Falls, making it more steampunk, but leaving the green paint. I do like this ride, I just think it needs a repaint because it really stands out in a bad way. It doesn't fit the new land at all. Lastly in Frontier Falls is Blasting Barrels. I didn't ride this on my visit, but it seems to be fun for what it is, and it adds capacity while being themed to the area, so there's no problems there. There's also the Falls Theatre, which normally has 4D shows, but has been updated to be a museum for the 75th anniversary this year. This wasn't open when I visited, which is so annoying because I would have loved to have a look around. From the few clips I've seen, it seems to be really interesting, and honestly, I wouldn't mind this staying after the anniversary is over. Overall, Frontier Falls is definitely the best land at Drayton Manor and contains the best rides. It's such an improvement from what was there before and really helps the park as a whole. There was a little show with Rory the Lion, their mascot, nearby, which was cute and fun for kids, which they've seemed to continue all year. It also contains a few shops and one food stand. I did buy a t-shirt from this area, and it is pretty good quality, and I really love the design. There is such a good atmosphere here, and it's the highlight of the park for me. Next to Frontier Falls is the other newest land in the park, Vikings. Opening in 2022, Vikings is an area dedicated and themed to Norse mythology. The area as a whole is pretty well themed, although in areas it can look a bit empty. It contains 3 rides, the first being Jormungandr. A Zamperla-powered coaster, Jormungandr is a refurbishment of the similar ride, Buffalo Coaster, which opened in 1987. I thought that this rode pretty well, but I have had reports of it being past its prime. I would suggest maybe retracking the ride to update it, if the speed and reliability issues are consistent problems. The theming is cute, and I like how it goes out over the water. I think this was a good addition to the park and fits the Viking area. On my visit, I also rode Sleipnir, which is a small pony track, don't judge me. It's definitely aimed at kids and has light theming, but it still fits the area nonetheless. Also in the land is Loki, a Zamperla nebula. I didn't ride Loki, but I would love to in the future, and it's really cool to watch. On my visit, it was taking very long to load and unload, but I'm not sure if this is a consistent problem or an off day. Lastly is Thor, a Zamperla disco which fits well into the area. It was closed when I went, but I think this was a one-day problem. It looks like a fun ride overall, and maybe I'll go on it one day. The area itself is quite well themed, and it blends nicely into Frontier Falls. All the rides have their place, but I think a Viking boat ride type thing could be nice out on the lake. But this might be a bit complicated now with the lake shows. Also, the Flying Dutchman being like outside this area is a little strange. I don't really know why they don't just paint it to match and move it a bit, but Vikings is a great land and a great addition to Drayton. The third land at Drayton Manor is Adventure Cove, a lightly beachy, summery themed area with lots of rides. I firstly rode the Polperro Express, which is a nice train ride that shows off the lake and most of this area. It's a really cute ride and definitely worth riding in my opinion. I also rode the River Rapids. This ride is one of the weaker experiences in the park as there's not really a lot to them. There's not any water features or bumps or twists and turns, it's very flat. This also means that you don't get very wet, which is kind of the whole point of a water ride. Matching the rest of the area, River Rapids is hardly themed, which worsens the ride even more. This could be a seasonal issue, perhaps you at least get wet in the summer, but this ride is still lackluster. Theming would heavily improve it though, and that's what I would suggest. The best part is honestly the music. In the past, I've ridden Stormforce 10, a flume ride themed around a lifeboat mission. This is a really good ride. It has 3 drops and gets you completely soaked. The theming and story is generally good, and this is one of the highlights of the park. The rest of the area includes Air Race, Wave Swinger, a playground called Tidal Towers, Maelstrom, a gyro swing, and The Wave. The Wave is an Intamin steel looping coaster, which is a retheme of the 1994 ride Shockwave. Shockwave was notable for being the only stand-up coaster in the UK and the only stand-up coaster with a 0G roll. In 2023, the stand-up aspect was retired after complaints of comfort, and the ride reopened for the 2024 season with new sit-down trains, as The Wave. The new trains are a great addition for the ride as they allowed the height restrictions to be lowered, which helps more people get on and adds to Drayton's new family park feel. Adventure Cove as a whole is a nice area. It has little story and theming, but not everywhere needs it particularly. I think a nice addition would maybe be a sandpit for kids to play in to match the beach vibe. I especially like the interaction of the Wave, River Rapids and the Polperro Express. Generally, this is the more thrilling section of the park, and it excelled at that while being bright, fun and full of kinetic energy. A large turning point in Drayton Manor's history is with the introduction of Thomas Land. Obviously themed to the popular children's show Thomas the Tank Engine, this area opened in March 2008 as Europe's only Thomas Land. The area opened with an original set of rides based on the early show, such as Bertie the Bus, Cranky's Drop Tower, Diesel's Locomotive Mayhem, Harold the Helicopter's Tours, Jeremy Jett's Flying Academy, Ladies Carousel, Rocking Bull Strode, Sodor Classic Cars, Troublesome Trucks Runaway Roller Coaster, Thomas, Rosie and Percy Engine Tours, Terence the Tractor's Driving School, and Emily's Adventure Play. However, as the show evolved, so did the rides, opening new ones like Blue Mountain Engines, Captain Sea Adventure, Flynn's Fire Rescue, James and the Red Balloon, Toby's Tram Express, Winston's Whistle Stop Tours, and most recently, to match the newest Thomas show, Thomas and Percy's Submarine Splash. Obviously, for my own sanity, if nothing else, I didn't ride every single ride in Thomasland. Troublesome Trucks was closed, which is a bit annoying because I do have a bit of a soft spot for it and I love to ride it. Most of these rides do not need a review because you know exactly what they're like from looking at them, but still. On my visit, I rode a few, so here you go. Winston's Whistle Stop Tour was a pretty nice ride. It experienced a lot of downtime, however, and was really short. I understand that this ride was built before any major expansions to the area, but it would be great if it could be extended to the rest of the area. This is a very popular ride and had a really long queue, majority of it being open, so an upgrade would add to it, I think. Sodor Classic Cars was cute, but a bit dated compared to the rest of the land. I think it could do with some on-ride audio, for ambience and to keep young children entertained. James and the Red Balloon was quite fun actually, spinning the balloon was a nice element. Captain Sea Adventure, on the other hand, was so underwhelming. Basically, it has these torch things and I was convinced they were water guns, which would have been so much more interesting. They are literally just lights, which you can't even tell they are on for most of the year basically. The ride is so boring and such past. There are much better rides in Thomasland. Thomas Engine Tours was a cute train ride. I mean, there had to be one somewhere, right? It has an okay view of some animals and some light theming which added to it, but at the end of the day, it is just a train. You know what you're coming for. It also had quite a bit of downtime throughout the day. I don't really know where else to say this, but I did eat in the land at the Sodor Airport, and the food was pretty good, if not a little theme park tax like always. Thomasland as a whole is a really nice family area. It's great for fans of Thomas, and the little stage show adds a nice atmosphere. It has this strange divide between the three Thomas eras though, which kind of took me out of it a bit. It would almost be good to have separate eras or go for a standardised style, but at this point it's not really possible. Despite that, however, this area is great and a standout in the UK. The middle section of the park is devoid of theming. It's a slightly random assortment of a castle and pirates and parts of other lands. The carousel is here and the lake and the entrance to the zoo is further down. It just feels like the odd liminal space between the grey areas here. I rode the Jolly Buccaneer here, which was surprisingly fast and quite fun. I just feel like the area around it needs a re-theme. Next to Jolly Buccaneer is the closed-off entrance to an old pirate boat ride, which honestly Drayton Manor needs to bring back. A full-scale pirate boat ride would be a great addition to the park, and part of the groundwork is already there. I genuinely really want this back. The area around it just needs a little work. Saving the worst until last, at the very back of the park is the zoo. This is one of the worst theme park zoos, or just zoos in general ever, I think. It just has these wide open spaces with big enclosures that you can't even see the animals in because they just go to the back. Loads has been closed and it looks almost abandoned. There's a half-shut Thomas playground, a sad tea room, and some random dinosaurs. The only good part is that you can take the train back to Thomasland so you don't have to stay here as long. If I could change anything in the whole park, I would remove this area. Drayton Manor is wasting space that could be a huge new themed land by keeping the zoo here. I mean, they can still have a zoo if they want. It just needs a renovation so desperately. They hardly advertise it, and when they do, they're begging people to walk in because almost no one cares. The zoo is a huge stain on an otherwise amazing park. Get rid of it, Drayton. Overall, I love Drayton Manor. It's one of, if not, my favourite theme park in the UK. It gets better year by year, and the recent addition of a lake show is such a promising addition. Most of the lands are detailed and interesting, and the park is so great for families. I could not recommend this park more if you're in the area and have kids. For thrill seekers, maybe not, but I would say it's worth it for anyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment or like if you enjoyed it. Visit Drayton Manor, ride Gold Rush. Goodbye.